Hola amigos y bienvenidos a una nueva clase de IEI High School. El día de hoy hablaremos sobre Conflict Management o manejo de conflictos en diferentes partes, como en el colegio, escuela o sociedad en general. Así que vamos allá. In today's lesson, we are going to talk about different things, such as what is conflict management, the best practices for conflict management. We're going to have a brief conclusion of all the things we discussed, and at the end, we're going to work on a little project so we can have an exercise that can be applied to improve the relationships our teams in the workplace, school, and wherever we are. First, let's identify and know what is conflict management. Conflict management is the practice of being able to identify and handle conflicts sensibly, fairly, and efficiently. Since conflicts in a business are a natural part of a workplace, it is important that there are people who understand conflicts and know how to resolve them. This is important in today's market more than ever. Everyone is striving to show how valuable they are for the company, and at times it can lead to some misunderstanding between co-workers or partners in general. Then, we need to know what types of conflict management we have so we can start identifying them and using them. The first one is collaborating conflict management style. This is a combination of being assertive and cooperative. Those who collaborate tend to work with others to identify a solution that fully satisfies everyone's concerns. In this style, which is the opposite of avoiding, both sides can get what they want and negative feelings are minimized. Collaborating works best when the long-term relationship and outcome are important. For example, planning for integrating two departments into one, where you want the best of both in the newly formed department. It's a perfect example of collaborating conflict management style. The second is competing conflict management style. Be careful, because those who compete are assertive and cooperative and willing to pursue one's own concerns at another's personal expense. Using this style works when you don't care about the relationship, but the outcome is very important for you, such as when competing with another company for a new client. But be careful, don't use competing inside your organization, because it doesn't build relationship. The third is avoiding conflict management style. Those who avoid conflict tend to be unassertive and cooperative while diplomatically sidestepping an issue and simply withdrawing from threatening situations. Use this when it's safer to postpone dealing with a situation or you don't have a great concern about the outcome, such as if you have a conflict with a coworker about the ethics of using FaceTime on the job or doing something instead of working. Well, avoid conflict. The fourth is accommodating conflict management style. The opposite of competing. There is an element of self-sacrifice when accommodating to satisfy the other person. While it may seem generous, it could take advantage of the weak and cause resentment. You can use accommodating when you really don't care about the outcome, but you do want to preserve or build a relationship, such as going out for lunch with the boss and agreeing, well, if you want to go for Thai food, it's okay with me. Fifth, compromising conflict management style. This style aims to find an expedient, mutually acceptable solution that partially satisfies both parties in the conflict, while maintaining some assertiveness and cooperativeness. This style is best used when the outcome is not crucial and you are losing time. For example, when you want to just make a decision and move on to the more important things, while other people might not be 100% satisfied, you at least have the team moving on to the more important things. Now, let's talk about the best practices for conflict management. The first one is be aware of conflict. You have to keep your eyes and ears open for changes in workplace climate and any early signs of developing conflict. Don't turn a blind eye to symptoms of hidden conflict. Conflict can only be safely ignored if it's momentary or unlikely to escalate. Ignoring conflict may be an easy option initially, but in most cases it does not help and will create a more difficult situation to resolve later on. Second, take a considered and rational approach to conflict. Stay calm and ensure that you are able to take a considered and rational and impartial approach to the situation. If you're the person involved or person involved in the problem, you may need to ask someone else to handle the situation. Avoid the temptation to adopt the instinctive reaction of fight or flight. Similarly, avoid aggressive behavior. Do not take an authoritarian approach or fail to listen to reasoned argument. Instead, aim to take an assertive stance while treating the other parties with respect and listening to all points of view. At the same time, you have to be very careful of your language and your body language because in many cases those things can be misunderstood. More importantly, listen carefully for any evidence offered, take notes, and keep yourself neutral at any moment. The third, investigate the situation. You have to take time to find out what happened, who's involved, how people are feeling, and what the issues are. Don't prejudge the issue to jump to conclusions. Instead, you have to speak individually and confidentially to those involved and listen actively to make sure you understand the point of view of every single one of them. This can be checked by summarizing what they have said and reflecting it back to them. Try to identify any underlying cause of conflict, which may not be immediately obvious. For example, a member of staff may be in apparent conflict with some colleagues, while the root cause is their perception that a supervisor is treating them unfairly. Be aware that those involved may have a different point of view of the same situation. Avoid being pulled into the middle of the argument and taking sides. You have to keep yourself neutral at every moment. Finally, decide how to tackle the conflict. Having examined the situation, decide what kind of action is appropriate. Ask yourself, it is a serious matter? Could it become serious in the future? Should organizational discipline or grievance procedures be invoked? Is the matter within the sphere of authority or should I be referred to a supervisor? Would the participation of a trade union representative be appropriate?
Is time needed to heat the emotions to subside before moving forward? Once you have answered all those questions, then you will be able to tackle the problem, identify all the causes, and as a consequence resolve it between all the co-workers or people involved in the argument. It's practice time, and today's activity is called Forwards. This exercise is used to get team members to work through conflicts, differing opinions how different team members handle conflict. The first step for this exercise is that each member has a pen and a piece of paper. You have to ask them to write 4 words down that they associate with the word conflict in this case. The second step, ask them to pair up between the two of them and they must decide the 4 best words out of the 8 they have in total. So each pair will have 4 words at the end. 3. Repeat this process again and again until you have gone over half of the teams interacting with each other and seeing that the synergy is going down a bit, so the words are becoming repetitive. With this exercise, the purpose is to see how teams are performing, how they can handle conflict, and they can handle some disagreements on the way. When you finished, you have to ask the group, how did they feel during the exercise? Did anyone felt uncomfortable and why? Did anyone take control or overtake over the choice of the 4 words? Was there any conflict? Would you do anything differently? What techniques did you use to come up with the words? What did you learn during this exercise? All those answers are important to assess and to see how your teams are performing if there's any conflict between co-workers, and then you can allocate it and solve the problem efficiently. Well, this is it for today's lesson. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and watch our previous lessons about leadership, verbal reasoning, and many other interesting topics. Once again, thank you for watching this far. I'll see you next class. Bye.